Hi, good morning. We are having a little bit of a technical difficulty. So we are working on getting Ginger from DermaMed Solutions to join this hour. So please be patient with us. I just want to go on here, pull up Ginger. Oh, Gina Smith. It won't stop moving. Gina, sorry, Gina. All right, Ginger, you should have been promoted to a panelist and...
Jenny, I still see Gina Smith.
Okay. Okay, Gina's off. Ginger. Ginger will be rejoining the webinar as a panelist.
How's everybody doing?
I know.
This is our first technical glitch. I think it's been going really smoothly.
It is.
And the thing that's really funny is when we did the test run with Ginger, it was like, this is funny that it's happening to Ginger, because Ginger's like, I'm like a pro Zoomer. I'm totally down with this. I have no, I get it. We were like, oh, can we ask you a question? So we were asking her questions and she knows Zoom inside and out. So I have no idea what's going on.
So did you get a panelist notification? All right, so promote to panelist. Ginger will be rejoining the webinar as a panelist. You're not getting...
There she is.
Okay, bye.
Let's see. You can see me.
There we are. We did it. Who knows?
Sorry, everyone. We all practiced and thought this was going to be so smooth. But,
I love the fact that everyone was like, Ginger's like, I'm the pro at the Zoom. And then we were asking you questions about it and you were answering our questions. And then this happened to you. It's so funny.
No explanation, but here we are. So, we lost 12 minutes, but I'm sure that we can make up ground. I'm going to close my email so we won't be looking at that when I'm
well, we will just let you kick it off.
I'm gonna just quick housekeeping. We're gonna stop. We're gonna so you guys, if there's gonna be question and answer, let's try to keep that until 10 of. That's number one. Number two, if you want, everyone has been going crazy sharing the information on Instagram. So the Instagram stories are going insane. So we're gonna do this for DermaMed Solutions and for Lipgloss_Aftershave on Instagram, and use the hashtag LAFest. We just sent out an email to everyone who's on that how to get the replay. We're gonna do it through our app because a lot of the manufacturers are discussing wholesale prices and they don't want the public to have access to it. So the best way to do that is to keep it in our app so that only estheticians that have the app can get the replay so that it's not public. So voila, that's problem solved. Ginger, take it away. I am more than excited to listen to this because I'm obsessed with nutrition. The other thing, you guys, if you have a question, do not use the chat box. Use the question box because we can monitor the questions and we can remove them as we answer them, and it's easier for us to manage. If you go into the chat box, it's one big chaos. So I'm gonna mute, and Ginger, it's all you.
Great, thank you all. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have a presentation that I'm going to go through with all of you. 1 second. Okay. So you should all see my presentation now. So I'm going to start from the beginning, just with a quick intro. I know we're running a little late, but I think we'll be able to get through all this material in a timely manner, and I'll try not to talk too much. So our topic today is, first of all, introducing myself. I'm Ginger Downey. I am the co-owner of DermaMed Solutions. I'm also a clinical nutritionist. So I went to school and got my bachelor's in food and nutrition. I got my master's in clinical nutrition. I went on to become a certified nutrition specialist, and that required another 1,000 hours of supervised practice, also an exam, and then continuing education. So nutrition is my thing. I love nutrition. Back in 2011, I had the opportunity to buy DermaMed Solutions with my partner, Mark Pinsley, and our vision was to make DermaMed the holistic provider of skincare solutions. So that means nutrition, that means wellness, that means topical products that are clean and that are not going to do harm while they're trying to do good for the skin. And so what I've tried to do over the past 10 years or so is really just be out there educating estheticians and skincare professionals about the value of nutrition in our skincare regimen. So my topic today is kind of exciting. It's about stress and the skin. And I think right now everyone is so stressed with what is going on. None of us are working like we normally want to be, and we're stressed. Our clients are stressed. Everyone is stressed. And stress shows up really physically in our bodies and in our skin. And so today I'm going to go through some of the very specific ways that happens, and also give some ideas on how we can work with our nutrition, our wellness, and our mindset to help improve the quality of our skin. So just quickly, today's talk, we're going to start out talking about the gut-skin-brain axis, a really cool topic. We're going to move on and cover stress, cortisol, skin connections. Next, we're going to have a little fun with mindfulness to manage stress, one of my favorite things. After that, we'll talk really quickly about sleep and skin health, because they really are important connections there to be made. And I'm going to close with topical nutrition for stressed skin, one of my favorite subjects. Okay, so there's this really cool graphic on the screen now. And I think as skincare professionals, this is something that you have all recognized forever, right? There's this huge connection between a person's lifestyle choices, specifically, what they eat, how well they sleep, and how they handle stress, and the condition of their skin. So think about that. Someone is really stressed out before their wedding. What happens? They get a breakout. Someone is eating really poorly. Maybe you're on vacation, or you're locked in your house with your kids and your husband, and you start to make some bad food choices. What happens? Your skin breaks out. So this is all something that we've kind of known, but we now as scientists have found that there's actually a common factor in all of these areas. So that's the gut, the brain, and the skin. And it's something called substance P. Substance P is a neuropeptide produced in the gut, in the brain, and in the skin, and it plays a key role in skin conditions. So if you have poor gut bacteria, that promotes the release of this substance P. And substance P then can trigger that breakout. So now we know what the factor is that connects those things, that stressful event and that breakout. So this is really cool. So now the science is beginning to evolve, and we're figuring out what can we do then to help manage substance P. And one of those things is probiotics. So that would be probiotics in the diet in the form of fermented foods. It could be probiotics in the form of a supplement. And it can also be probiotics on the skin. And so we're going to talk about that in detail a little bit later on. So you've probably heard of leaky gut. Many people have. Maybe they've experienced this terrible condition where, perhaps they took antibiotics for an extended period of time, or they were eating poorly, or, who knows what happened. They had an illness, and all of a sudden their gut became leaky, meaning kind of inflamed, and these junctions between the gut lining opened up and intact proteins passed through, and all of a sudden people are feeling allergic to everything, and they're having GI distress and all these problems. So similar to leaky gut is this concept of leaky skin. And this is where the skin now, its barrier, just like the gut's barrier was impaired, so is the skin's barrier function is impaired. And so what passes through are toxins, bacteria, and allergens. So again, this substance P is the common factor in the gut, the skin, and the brain, released by these nerve endings. And so poor gut bacteria promotes the release of substance P in all of these areas, but also poor microbiome on the skin can also make the skin more impaired. And so what an interesting concept that our skin is alive with bacteria. We're crawling with bugs. It's a terrible thing to think about. But truly, that's what the case is. And they're beneficial. Most of them are beneficial. They're there to protect our skin. Our skin, the largest organ, our biggest defense organ that we have in our body. And so we really have to pay a better attention to maintaining the quality of our skin. We need to fortify the skin with healthy bacteria, just like our gut. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about topically applied probiotics. So we spoke about, or we know that when someone has some kind of an infection and they have to take an antibiotic, so that's something that's going to kill the bad bacteria and make us well, that many times we kill off our good bacteria too, and we end up getting things like yeast infections or stomach distress. Same thing is true with our skin. So if we're over peeling and we're using very harsh chemicals on our skin, now, who these days is not applying a little bit too much hand sanitizer to their skin, perhaps? I think soap and water is fine, but I think these really high alcohol-based hand sanitizers are necessary right now, but we are probably stripping away all the healthy bacteria on our skin. So we need to think about that. So how can we now fortify our skin again? Well, we can topically apply probiotics. Now, how does that work? So probiotics act as a protective shield. They create this bacterial interference to protect the skin and interfere with the bad bacteria's trigger of the immune response, meaning the redness and the inflammation that occurs when our skin is impaired. Topical probiotics have antimicrobial properties. So certain strains of probiotics, lactobacillus is one of those, actually pokes holes in the bad bacteria and kills it. How cool is that? They also offer a calming effect. So probiotics prevent the threat reaction that signals that flare up of acne and rosacea. So just like with that protective shield. So you can use some natural products that you may have in your own home or foods, in fact. I know that some people will take just yogurt that is fortified with lactobacillus and use that as a mask on their face. Perhaps we might want to think about a hand protocol where we're applying some lactobacillus-rich yogurt to our hands if they're feeling really irritated and chapped at this point in time. And we are going to be releasing a really nice hand protocol for everyone to follow as well. So in the DM Skincare line, we have a product called VitaClear Serum. And so it has a form of vitamin A that is really good for skin cell turnover, but it's a gentle form. It's called Gram-Active Retinoid. And it very slowly turns over the skin cells without being irritating like a Retin-A product might be. But this product also contains two really great additions, two natural additions, and that's pro and prebiotics. And those are to help manage inflammation and also restore the balance in the skin, that microbiome that is living on the skin. So what's the difference between a pro and a prebiotic? So a probiotic is, pro means for, and biotic means life, pro-life. So a probiotic is a healthy bacteria, so in this case we're using a lactobacillus, that helps to fortify your microbiome on the skin. Prebiotics, or in the gut for that matter, prebiotics are the food for the probiotics. And those are certain kinds of sugars. Typically, it's like a fructooligosaccharide or some other kind of carbohydrate that is known to feed the healthy bacteria and keep that nourishment going. So our VitaClear Serum has both of those. But again, if you don't have access to something like that, or you want to try an even more natural approach, you can find a yogurt that is fortified with lactobacillus. So as I was researching this topic, excuse me, I guess it was about a year ago for a talk I was giving, I came across this whole new field of medicine that focuses on the intricacies of the mind-skin connection, and that's called psychodermatology. So this is actually real. In fact, there's actually a whole new field of medicine specifically set aside for the study of the skin-brain connection. So I think that's really cool, first of all. So doctors who specialize in psychodermatology treat skin problems that are caused or worsened by stress. So everything that you have seen coming into your treatment room and that you have noticed and your instincts told you was true is actually true. And now we have an entire field of study dedicated to psychodermatology. So a really important connection I'd like to kind of dig deeply into with you is our primary stress hormone, cortisol, and how that affects the skin. So when a person becomes stressed, the level of the body's stress hormone cortisol rises. And so cortisol is produced in the adrenal glands, and those are kind of, if you know where your kidneys are in your lower back, right on the top, like a little cap, like a little snowy cap. On top of the kidneys are the adrenal glands, and the adrenal glands release, several different kinds of hormones, and cortisol is one of those. And cortisol rises when we become stressed, and it has a really good purpose because it helps us to have the energy we need when we need to, engage in, say, there's a car coming towards us and we need to react quickly. Cortisol rises, so that's a good thing. Unfortunately, in today's really stressful world, with our phones buzzing and the news playing in the background, our kids creating stress and joy, of course, we have this constant surge of cortisol and stress hormone in certain cases. And what happens when you have elevated cortisol is that your sebaceous glands begin to produce more oil. And we know what happens then. Oily skin tends to lead to acne because our pores become clogged and they can't clear themselves as well as they used to. In addition, the extra cortisol causes a biochemical reaction which depletes your vitamin C and B vitamin stores. Now let's think about that. Have you ever seen the pictures of the identical twins, for example, who were raised separately, and one had a really happy, easy life, and the other one had a very stressful, hard life, and their skin is just completely different. The one with the hard life, the stressful life, has a whole lot more wrinkles, and their skin just looks so old. So why is that? Well, I think it has to do with this connection with stress and cortisol depleting our vitamin C stores. Because as we know, vitamin C is required for collagen formation. And when our collagen is depleted, our skin looks wrinkled and saggy. It doesn't have the structure that it does when it's nourished with lots of vitamin C. Also, B vitamins. So B vitamins are involved in the production of our neurotransmitters. And neurotransmitters are things like serotonin. Have you ever heard of that? So serotonin is a neurotransmitter that makes us feel at peace and happy. And people who suffer from depression sometimes have a B vitamin deficiency and they can't make enough serotonin. And that's some work that I've been doing in my private practice. But just speaking in general, if cortisol depletes our B vitamin stores, we are going to feel further stressed because we don't make enough of our feel-good hormones. So it's really super important, especially during times of stress, to eat 5 to 7 servings of antioxidant-rich fruits and vegetables per day. And for some people, it might be a good idea to supplement, I would say, especially right now. With all that's going on, a vitamin C supplement certainly couldn't hurt anyone. And when thinking about choosing those 5 to 7 servings of antioxidant-rich fruits and vegetables, think about color. So the reason that I believe, the reason that God or Mother Nature or whatever you believe has created fruits and vegetables in so many different colors is because they actually contain very different antioxidants based on their color. So for example, purple fruits and vegetables have anthocyanins, as do red, but the oranges have beta carotene and the greens have chlorophyll. So by eating a colorful variety of fruits and vegetables every day, you can really ensure that you are feeding your cells with all of the antioxidants they need in order to be strong and healthy and to boost your immunity as well. Another fact about cortisol and stress is that stress makes it difficult for the skin to heal because it reduces your barrier function. And so what happens when you have reduced barrier function is most of you know you have dry skin, right? Because you have increases in water loss, that transdermal water loss that you all studied about in school. And you have less of an ability to repair the damage that happens after an injury. So let's think about that. We want to make sure that we're keeping that barrier function in place by keeping our skin moist so that that dry, cracked skin doesn't allow those nasty bacteria to penetrate our skin as well. So there's many reasons why we want to maintain our barrier function, having to do with our microbiome and also having to do with our water loss. And as you all know, the skin is your first line of defense from all sorts of environmental toxins, from UV radiation to pollutants, and just keeping your skin healthy is critical to maintaining your overall health. I can't wait to, by the way, I can't wait to get all of you back to work to really help all these stressed people who are going to be in desperate need of nourishment of their skin. Our bodies, our souls, our, massages and skincare are just going to be something so needed. And I think that when we all can get back to work, that the work you're going to do is going to be very critical in healing the people of our country and our world. So this is just a little graphic I guess I want to share. It's from another slideshow I did, mostly because I just like this crazy lady. And I think we all sort of feel like this right now. Stress shows up on your skin. We're all beside ourselves. We don't know what our new daily routine is. We're trying to homeschool our kids. Some of us are trying to homeschool our kids. Some of us are trying to work from school. Some of us are trying to save our businesses so that our employees can continue to have a paycheck. You're trying to save your businesses that you've worked so hard to create. We're trying to put food on the table, so we're all stressed. And so stress signals the adrenal glands to release cortisol, as we discussed, increasing that oil production, breaking down our collagen. But did you know that a high sugar diet amplifies the inflammatory process? So as hard as it is, I know we all want to stay home and bake cookies and brownies and indulge in sugary treats. But really keeping that sugar out of our diet during a stressful time is a really powerful tool in downplaying the inflammatory process. And in fact, eating more fruits and vegetables is a way to support and downregulate the inflammatory process. Another would be incorporating really good healthy fats into your diet. So that would be omega-3 fats, the kind that come from fatty fish. That would be omega-3 fats that also come from things like milled flaxseed and walnuts for those people who are not into eating fish. Or you can always take an omega-3 supplement. But it's another way to downregulate that inflammatory process, keeping the sugar down, increasing the fruits and vegetables, and watching the type of fat that you eat to make sure that you're eating more of the omega-3 healthy fat and less of the fried foods or the damaging fats. You know, another thing that stress does, for any of you who treat clients with rosacea, I bet you all do, stress signals an increased blood flow to the face. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I know that when I get stressed, my face turns red and it feels very hot. And certain people get broken blood vessels as well. And so it's very important, again, now to have vitamin C topically and orally to help support our blood vessels. Our blood vessels are so dependent on vitamin C to ensure, healthy integrity. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about vitamin C topically in an upcoming slide. So just so you know, I am going to keep on going through this presentation, and I'm going to do Q&A at the end, just so I can keep my thoughts running. But if you have questions, feel free to throw those up in the Q&A, and I will find that box when we finish the slide presentation, and I will answer all of your questions for you, or I'll try. So it was really interesting. About 2 years ago, I was invited to Face and Body, and I was asked to give an entire talk on mindful techniques and how that relates to skin. And I thought, oh my gosh, I just don't know how I'm going to come up with enough material. And in the end, I spent a lot of time really researching the pioneers of mindful practice, kind of the history of mindful practice, which goes back to the beginning of days, and also these tools and the incredible body of evidence behind the idea that mindfulness or our thoughts can absolutely impact our perception of stress and downregulate all of those negative things that are happening. So as I went through that research, I tried to create a really good set of tools for people to use in managing stress and improving their skin health. And so these are the ones that I really liked a lot. So I'm going to go through this with you. And the first one is practicing gratitude. And so we hear this all the time. It really is just such a common theme. Oh, just be grateful, be grateful. But, that's really different for everyone. I mean, there's so many ways you can be grateful, and there's no right or wrong way. And so, a few ideas that I've put up here. One is to set an intention at mealtime. And so in my family, we like to sit down, and I'm one of those old-fashioned people who likes to make a meal, and we all sit around the table as often as we can, as long as sports or activities aren't interfering. But we sit down and we always say grace together. And it's the same, just simple little Catholic blesses our Lord prayer that we say every time. And it seems very rote, I'm sure, to people who are visiting our home. Like, oh, they say this every day, but are they really thinking about it? But another thing we'd like to do is we like to talk about something that we were grateful for that day, or something good that happened that day. So I love that practice. I think you can also set an intention at mealtime. You can say, wow, I saw this really incredible post today about this woman who was trying to collect materials to make masks, for the people to use in the hospital. And, I'm going to think of a way that I can help someone in the community. I don't know how to sew, but, what can I do? And maybe I could set that intention. So for us, mealtime, is a good time to kind of set those intentions and talk about, good things that we've noticed during the day. I think it's always good to start and end your day with thanks. I know many people like to keep a gratitude journal where at the end of the day, they talk about 3 things they're grateful for, or they might start the day with the same thing. So I think, journaling and setting those grateful intentions is really helpful. Another really great tool for, excuse me, for managing your stress is breath. And we're going to take a breath break in a minute, and I'm going to do a quick little breathing exercise with you. But there's incredible amounts of science behind the fact that just taking really good deep breaths can lower your stress. And I do this all the time with my clients, where I'll pull up my Fitbit app and I'll look at my heart rate and I'll show them, I'll do the deep breathing exercises that I teach them, and I'll show them how my heart rate goes down just by breathing. And this is called belly breathing or abdominal breathing. And basically, if you put your one hand, say your left hand on your chest and say your right hand on your belly, and you take a really good deep breath, notice, are you breathing into your chest or into your belly? Many of us, when we're stressed, are really breathing into our chest, and we're not getting the oxygen deep down into our tissues where we need it. And that tends to lead to a faster heart rate. So the act of simply focusing on abdominal breathing, putting your hand on your belly and your chest and focusing the breath to the belly, breathing as deeply and fully as you can dramatically lower your heart rate and your stress response. Excuse me. So meditation, this is very hard for many people, just to sit and to be quiet and calm your mind. I know that it is for me as well. And I think that this looks different for different people. I think that, the truest form of meditation is to sit and just calm your mind and be quiet. But I think that there's other ways that you can start and tools that you can use. So I'm a big fan of the apps that are out there. Headspace is a really good one. Calm is another one. You can go onto YouTube and you can do a guided meditation. And I don't know, for me, for some reason, the music that comes with those, that really cool kind of spa Zen-like music, is very helpful in my meditation practice. And so I find I need to put on some of that music. I light a candle, and that always helps. For some reason, staring at that candle and the flame flickering just has an incredible way of bringing me to a meditative state. This takes time to learn, and we have to practice. There's this great new practice called forest bathing. I don't know if anyone has ever tried this. If you have access to some woods or a beautiful place to walk out in nature where you live, just being out in nature is incredibly grounding, and really noticing and listening. What do I smell? What do I see? What do I hear? What do I feel? How does the air feel different here than it does in my house? So meditation can take many different forms. It doesn't have to be you sitting on a little pillow quietly in a room by yourself. It can take the form that works for you, but it is about just trying to calm your mind. And something that I try to do when I'm going to meditate, when those thoughts keep popping into my head, for me, I have to transfer them. So I have to write those down on a pad so that I can go back, or you might put this in your notes on your phone. But for some of us, I think we actually have to physically envision pulling the thought from the brain, like Harry Potter with the pensieve, pulling the thought from the brain and popping it onto a piece of paper or in your notes in your phone. Another great tool for managing stress is to visualize outcomes. So right now, all we can think about is the fact that we can't go to the mall, and my nails look a mess, and my hair is all gray, and whatever else is going wrong. But I think what you can do is turn that around and visualize the outcome. So what I'm visualizing is what I alluded to earlier, that at the end of this, so in another month, when we're all back to work, or whatever the timing may be, that people are going to be dying to get their skin cared for, to get their nails done, to get that massage. And I feel like we are going to have a boom, a real boom. And what I think has been a blessing, perhaps in disguise, is that right now during this quiet time, we can all sit back and reflect on our businesses. Everything is quiet. So what's been working for my business? What wasn't working? What if I had to dream up some changes or visualize how I want my business to be when I reopen, what will that look like? It's so powerful to visualize your outcome. And it's also a way of managing stress, because suddenly something that seems so out of control now is within your control, and you can create and visualize the outcome that you want. So I just think this is the most opportune time for all of us to visualize, how do we want our businesses and our lives to look? What did we learn? What are the takeaways from this? Because there must be a reason that we're going through all this. So let's all figure out, what can we take away and learn from all this? And I think a really important component of that is removing the toxic. So really thinking about being mindful about, what is toxic in your life? What is it that makes you not behave as your best self? Do you ever reflect at the end of the day and I'll think, oh, I wish I would have responded differently to that post, or responded differently in that angry interaction with my husband or my child? What could I have done differently? And so sometimes the toxic is within you. It's noticing, certain people trigger me in a certain way, but the only thing we can ever control is our reaction. So I think, sometimes it's removing certain people from your life if that is necessary. But also I think it's just changing your reaction to things as well, removing the toxic from both sides. So I'd like everyone to really think about that as we're in this great time of deep thought. So getting organized. I think that mindful practice requires some planning. I also think that the more organized your space is, the more free your mind is to go ahead and, do the things you need to do in order to feel like you're not stressed. And now I do have some people who argue this point with me and say, nope, like I just live better in a cluttered world. It's how I feel comfortable. And if that's who you are, then, that's fine. But I think for the majority of us, keeping down the clutter at home, at work really helps. Planning meals. Boy, if we want to feel well, we need to eat well. We need to get those fruits and vegetables into our diet. I think that when we go to the grocery store, it's just perfect opportunity to come home, wash all our vegetables, chop them up, put them in little baggies, and plan out, okay, here's my snacks, here's my meals. I'm ready to grab and go. So that when that hunger comes and knock in at 3 o'clock, I'm not grabbing, the cookie or the junk food, but I know, oh, I've got some veggies and hummus waiting there in the fridge for me, all cut up and ready to go. I think scheduling everything, including your meditation, including your gratitude time, including your exercise, is so important. And I think that there's nothing selfish about putting your exercise on your calendar and saying, I'm sorry, I can't have that appointment at 2 o'clock today because that's my bar class. That's my yoga class. That's my run time. And I'm going to do that. So organizing your schedule to prioritize your mental and physical health is a really good idea. There's this great little chart. I don't know, you guys may have seen Covey's priority chart in the past. I'm going to share that with you. I'm just doing a time check. Okay. 11:41. We're doing fine. So I don't know if you've ever seen this before, and we're not interactive, so I can't be looking at your faces to see if this resonates with you or not. But I'm going to run through the quadrants of this chart. Okay. So quadrant number 1 is, where are we? Okay. Quadrant number 1, family emergencies, real hard deadlines for important projects. So these are things that are urgent and important, right? Quadrant number 2, exercise, reviewing your career path, professional development, maintaining relationships with friends and family. These are also very important, aren't they? But they are not urgent. So I'm in the top of the chart right now. The first was urgent, family emergencies, the hard deadlines for projects, urgent and important. Next to that, we have urgent, not urgent, but important, and that's exercise, reviewing your career path, professional development, whatever, maintaining relationships. Number 3, we have not important, but urgent. What could that be? Let's think, maybe responding to someone on social media who's clearly wrong, making phone calls that are not important or on topic, sending an email right away if it loses value. So for example, someone emails you, I brought donuts into the office, come on over. Do you really have to reply to that email right away? So maybe you do, maybe you don't, but that's just a silly little example that comes to mind. I think we can all relate mostly to that social media post. Someone's clearly wrong, but we've got a deadline to meet. So is that really urgent or important? Probably not. Quadrant number 4, not urgent, not important. So this is mindless web browsing. This is where we get drawn into Instagram and we start going through when we know that we have to meet that deadline for the day, or we have important projects that were on our to-do list, or we said we were going to go take our jog and get our exercise in. That's quadrant number 4. So this is channel surfing, TV, mindless web browsing. So I just like this little chart as a way for you to maybe think of your own examples for each of these quadrants, and really kind of reprioritize. And right now is a great time to think about those things. What are your important and urgent things? What are your important and urgent things? Those are things you should do. And you should avoid the things in quadrants 3 and 4 if you can. So as I mentioned before, I did want to take a minute and have a breathing break. So what I'd like for everyone to do is, if you're seated in a chair, I want you to put both feet on the floor. I want you to think about your posture. So I want you to be relaxed, but I want you to have good posture. And I'll tell you why. When we put our shoulders back and open up our rib cage and our chest, can you just instantly feel how it's easier to breathe? I can. When I'm sitting up straight and tall, I also can instantly feel that there's less pressure on my diaphragm or my belly. I just lifted my belly button up like an O instead of squishing it down flat. My kids always laugh at that analogy when I tell them about it, but that's how I think of it. I want my belly button to be an O, not a squished little mouth. So shoulders back, straight and tall, but relaxed. I want everyone to take your left hand and put it on your chest. And I want you to take your right hand and put it on your belly. We're going to do 5 deep breaths, and I'm going to count for you. So it's going to be hard for me to do breathing, but I want you to do that. And I want you to fully expand your lungs with the intake of the breath and your belly. And then I want you to exhale slowly. Make sure that you feel that right hand rising on your belly. Okay, let's start. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Were any of you finding that it was hard to exhale for a count of 5? I think sometimes it can be for many people. And we only did 2 breaths because I didn't want to take too much of our time, but I hope that you'll try to really focus on doing your belly breathing and those long exhales, because I think it's very liberating. And one thing you can also do is whatever is bothering you at that moment, you can picture that you're taking it and you're pulling it out of your body and putting it aside, because you can't think about it right now and you can't have it settle into your body and make you feel tense. So you can take those negative thoughts and you can blow them away with your exhale. You can also, when you're inhaling, envision that you're filling yourself with positive energy, whatever that source is for you, your family, nature, God, whatever it is that inspires you, bring it in with your breath and then blow away the negative stuff. It's very, very stress relieving. Just a quick slide I wanted to cover on sleep hormones and skin. So when we are sleeping, something really important takes place, and that's cell turnover and regeneration. So that's all the cells in our body, including our skin cells. And so if we are not sleeping properly, we're certainly not able to manufacture the collagen we need to keep our skin looking supple and feeling supple. Sleep deprivation, here it comes again, leads to increased cortisol production. It's like we can't get away from that cortisol. So when you are not sleeping enough, your cortisol is deprived. Also, melatonin is released during sleep, and melatonin offsets cortisol. And there's some interesting science I was just reading about, and I'm really going to explore further in my next session with all of you next week. And that's about what the researchers are finding about melatonin and the coronavirus. And we're finding that people with higher levels of melatonin, meaning those who sleep better, have lower incidence of the virus. And they also think that this may be why the children are not getting the coronavirus at the same rate as adults. And that's because children naturally have more melatonin and children naturally sleep more hours per night. And so if ever there was a good time for you to make sure that you're getting your sleep, it's now, not just for your skin, but for your health, because there's some really significant findings here that melatonin can really help to ward off the coronavirus. So let's all make sure we're getting enough sleep. So how can we do that? So the research tells us that 6 to 8 hours per night is what's good for most people. Everyone is different. So, you know better than others, what that is for you. I wear a Fitbit and I analyze my sleep, and I don't wear it every night, but I'll wear it for periods of time just to give me some insights if I'm feeling tired. And I can really get to know like when I'm not getting into my deep sleep range or when I'm being waken up too much during the night. And that typically has to do with my animals. So for those of you who sleep with pets, that could be a problem and you'll have to adjust things accordingly. Temperature on the cooler side is definitely better, according to the research, for sleep. So between 60 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. We want to stick with the same sleep schedule every single day. So even on the weekends, I'm still up at 6 myself. I don't know what your schedule is, but for me, to bed at 10, up at 6 is just the schedule that works great for me. But try to stick with, your own rhythm. Some of us are night people, some of us are morning people, but try to stick to the same schedule even on the weekends. So getting electronics out of the bedroom is hugely important. The light coming from our cell phone, the light coming from our laptop, from our TVs is really disruptive. It really directs, the light goes in through our eyes, and that sends a signal to our pituitary gland, and our pituitary gland then regulates our hormone production, and it can interfere with your melatonin. And so there's a whole lecture I could be giving on blue lights and the damage of that, and light, using light blockers on your glasses and things like that on your screens. But really, taking those electronics out of the bedroom is really the best bet, or shutting them off at least an hour before you're ready to go to sleep. So go put the phone on the charger, go put the computer away, turn off the TV, read a book, talk to your spouse, whatever, but just try those electronics out of the bedroom. In terms of food, there's some research that shows that a protein snack 2 hours before bed, for those of you who are not doing intermittent fasting, is a really good way to help ensure that you have all of the amino acids necessary to make tryptophan and the other sleep-inducing hormones. That tryptophan is an amino acid, but that helps to induce your sleep hormones. And no liquids 2 hours prior, just so you don't have to get up and pee. I don't know how many of you have that problem, but try to cut the liquids off at 2 hours prior to bed. And a magnesium soak is really great. So that's Epsom salt, or you can buy some magnesium crystals with lavender and have a nice bath with those. Some of us use a topical oil of magnesium. That's great too. But magnesium is very relaxing and leads to a very restful sleep.
Ginger, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I do want to give you a time check. It's 11:51. So I'm not sure how many slides you have left, because we do have a few open questions.
I am down to 2 slides.
Perfect.
Yes. Great job, Ginger.
So I think we're going to be perfect on timing, I hope. All right, thank you. I appreciate that. So in terms of topical skincare for stressed, inflamed skin, there are certain nutrients, just as there are really good and important nutrients in our diet for healing the gut and lowering systemic inflammation. The same is true for topical nutrition. So a few key nutrients found in topical products. I just tried off the top of my head, think of our products for those of you who are our customers and know our products, but you could get these ingredients from whatever line you choose. But CBD, so amazing, the research on CBD and how anti-inflammatory it is. CBD is chock full of antioxidants. We have these CBD cannabinoid receptors all throughout our body. And CBD has been shown to be an anti-inflammatory compound, as well as hemp. So if you have some products that you like that contain CBD, those are a really good choice. In our line, we have a serum and a lotion. We have a new CBD facial oil coming out as soon as we can get back to work. We also know in detail about topical probiotics. So we talked about that. I'm not going to go through that a lot, but they act as a shield. So that can be in your skincare. That can be, the old-fashioned way. You can break open a probiotic capsule and, put it in your cream. Whatever you need to do to get that lactobacillus and those other probiotics onto your skin is very good for inflamed skin. The phosphorylated form of vitamin C. So vitamin C in the ascorbic form can be irritating, especially to people who have rosacea. But people who have rosacea need vitamin C for their leaky vessels more than anyone else. So how do you get that to them? Through the phosphorylated form. So sodium ascorbic phosphate, sodium, now I forget the name of it. Sodium ascorbyl phosphate, yes, is a form that we use in our line in C difference, high potency collagen renewal cream. Pardon me, I had a brain burp there. Ceramides are great for barrier function. We talked about barrier function in detail. Our C difference lotion now has ceramides, which is great. Vitamin F, which is just like a fun little code name for essential fats. So Argan Boost Serum, for example, has jojoba and squalane. Those are really great. Argan oil, great essential fats. Calm and Balance, I might have to skip my detail explanation of that, but that's the next slide. And then, and Common Balance also has coconut, peach kernel, and jojoba, these great essential fats. Also, safe SPF in the form of a mineral sunscreen every day is so important for stressed, inflamed skin. We also have UR protection in our product, which I think is something that you should look for. Really quickly, I just want to talk about Common Balance because we have two essential oil blends. One is called Common Balance and one is called Soothe and Restore. And a number of years ago, I hired a PhD neuroscientist to develop these formulas for me. And I have a 20-page report, if anyone ever wants to see it, on both formulas. And so she actually looked at the science and she came up with these blends for me. And so, for example, frankincense is shown to be analgesic, anti-anxiety. So it acts on the HPA axis. That's the cortisol trigger. Anti-cancer, anti-immunity, immune boosting. Lavender, also analgesic, antidepressant, anti-inflammatory, lowers cortisol. So these essential oils are clinically proven to help reduce stress. And so we put them in a base of peach kernel, jojoba, coconut oil, vitamin E oil. And I use these topically after my showers, my moisture every day, but you can use them for a massage. You can use them when you're giving a treatment to one of your clients, put them on your hands, put that over their nose so they can breathe it, give them a hand massage with it. It's just, these blends are incredibly beneficial and scientifically validated. Okay, so that's just a hint. I'm not going to talk about this because I want to go to Q&A, but we are, when you're home with time in your hands, you can develop new products like lip treatments and neck and décolleté and lash serum and body balm. And so that's something I'm working on right now. So what I want to do is go to the Q&A. So I just stopped sharing. Okay, so Barry, Q&A. I thought we would do Q&A through the chat. Tell me where to find Q&A on the screen again.
Bottom of the screen, right next to your share screen.
Yep.
Icon, Q&A icon.
I see more in orange. Ah, thank you. Beautiful. Okay. So Sarah is asking, what are your favorite supplements, such as prebiotic, probiotic, vitamin C, Bs, omega? These are all the ones you suggested. What are your thoughts on adaptogens? Great question. So I don't have one favorite brand of supplements, but I have a whole collection of favorite brands of supplements because I think that when it comes to supplements, not all brands are created equally. We want something that is has good manufacturing processes, so it's GMP on the label. But in addition to that, there's just certain brands that really do their science. And so I tend to order through either Emerson Ecologics or Fullscript, but that's something that is practitioner suggested. So Emerson Ecologics is another good site. You want to make sure that you're getting high quality supplements. In terms of vitamin C, sure do like one in a liposomal form. I think that's great right now. It's in big demand. In terms of B vitamins, I love a B complex, but I just want to caution that not everyone should take these methylated forms of B vitamins because they can certainly do some harm if you have anxiety. Also, omega-3, love Nordic Naturals, really, really great brand. And then in terms of adaptogens, so adaptogens are, they're botanical products that help to regulate the stress response. And so it's so amazing. It's almost like they know what the body needs and they give it to you. But if someone else has a different need, they'll do what that person's body needs as well. Because so they adapt to the situation. Really interesting. So ashwagandha, rhodiola, those are really great. I love a company called Gaia for my adaptogen herbs. So check out Gaia.
Ginger, we're at 11:58, so I just wanted to give everyone a couple of really quick things. Okay. You guys, if Ginger didn't get to your question, we apologize. We are on the hour. You can reach Ginger. Are you Ginger at DermaMedSolutions.com?
No, I'm G Downey.
DOWNEY, GDOWNEY at DermaMedSolutions.com. If you're watching live. If you guys are watching and you haven't registered, I know some of you joined through a public link. If you haven't registered, DM Skincare DermaMed Solutions is offering a raffle. So they're raffling off your Common Balance, which you just talked about. And then there's another 2 products, correct, Ginger?
Right. So our salicylic peel, which is great for, we talk about oil production being triggered by stress. So a salicylic peel is the go-to for that. And also our Skin Trinity Serum, which is just loaded with amazing peptides that help with anti-aging.
Awesome. Thank you. So if you guys register for that, you'll be eligible for the raffle. And we are going to do replay. We are replaying through our app. So if you haven't, go to the App Store or Google Play and download Lipgloss and Aftershave's app. And we are going to our 12 o'clock hour with Christopher from Mad Skincare. So you can come back to that. Ginger, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was like I was glued to the screen the entire time. I love your information. You are so talented.
And you will be back in our next session. So check out our social media so we can, you guys will find out when Ginger will be back again next weekend.
Next weekend, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much.
All right. Bye, guys.
I'll answer all questions online. Thank you.